Hello, and welcome to another episode of Automate Office Work. I'm your host, Justin. Today's episode is my first automation. And today we have a guest who's joining me to talk about their first automation. We have Ryan. Ryan, are you there? I do not hear Ryan for some reason. Maybe, looks like you're unmuted. But okay, we'll hear from Ryan in a little bit, I guess, when he comes back on. Um, All right, I am sharing my screen. Today's episode is my first automation, so it's kind of fun to think back. How did I first start on this journey of automating everything? What was it like? What was the spark? And yeah, what is it that keeps us all who joined this journey? What keeps us in doing this? You know, what is it that drives us to be doing this? So I've got an article. If you go to my website, automateofficework.com, and you scroll down to the articles section, I do have a page called My First Automation. It's also at automateofficework.com/first underscore automation. I'll click on it. And for those of you who are listening to audio only, it's fine. You don't need to be able to see my screen. So I will just describe everything in words. But those of you who are on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can follow along on my screen if you'd like, or you can go to this article and just read through it at your leisure. But at the top of this article, I've got a kind of a handout. It shows all of these 19 steps that I was able to automate. This is my very first automation. Okay. To set the scene, it was 2016. I had been in my role as a corporate lawyer for a couple of years. But before being a corporate lawyer, I studied computers. So I learned how computers work, the patterns, the kind of processes that they go through. And so I had actually done a little bit of automation before, not to this degree, but just a little bit in my like internships and previous jobs. But I was sitting one day and I had all of this work that was kind of always the same. It was kind of organized chaos, but there was a pattern to it. And it kind of dawned on me one day, my work was going up and up and up, and it was always the same thing over and over and over again. All these manual emails and stuff, and all this manual clicking and copying and pasting and like converting files to another format and then attaching them to an email and emailing people. It was so much manual work. And so I picked this one workflow and I mapped it out and I went through it. But I guess, okay, so before that, before I started mapping it out, I finally did the Google search. I Googled how to automate Microsoft Office. And yeah, it opened up my mind. I saw that there was a way. This was back before Microsoft Office had things like Power Apps and Power Automate. So back then we had this thing called Excel, and Excel had macros, which was in a language called VBA. I think it's a Visual Basic Application or something. But this VBA language was like back from the early 2000s, this old ugly, clunky language, but you could do stuff with it. And with this language, from a spreadsheet, you could control everything on the user's computer, which is a big reason why they tell you do not run macros unless you trust a person, right? Are you back, Ryan? Okay, I guess he's not there. Maybe I should send him a message. So I'm going to try to send a message and talk at the same time. So yeah, we had this old clunky language, and I mapped out all 20 of my steps, and then one at a time, I learned how to do these steps from inside of a spreadsheet. And so, like the very first step was I received a notification email from this old clunky system, which I abbreviate OCS, old clunky system, on the handout. I would receive this notification, and then I would go to the website for this old clunky system, which I could only access in Internet Explorer. It would not work in any other browser because there was like some ActiveX script garbage or something. Add him to stage. Let's
Is it
see.
working now?
It is. Oh, is that how
There
I
we
lost
go.
you? Because I removed you. You
Yeah,
have to be on the
apparently so.
stage. I'm so sorry.
No, it's so definitely okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay, for the audience, I removed Ryan from the stage before, and so I didn't know it would take him away from being able to speak or anything. Okay, so he's back.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Justin.
All right, Ryan, do you want to talk at all about yourself, like what industry you're in, or how long you've been in it?
Yeah, absolutely. I am in the medical device industry, and I have been in it for just over 5 years now. Um, Being in a medical device industry, everything is sales and growth first. It's not like a tech company, if you will. So within this industry, I see ample opportunity for automation. And this whole podcast or episode, right, is about your introduction to automation.
Your first one.
So, sorry, say that again, Justin.
Your first one. The first
Yes,
time.
yes,
You
my
remember
first
it
one.
forever.
Yeah, I think the fire was ignited. I probably coming out of college and stepping to my first role within the medical device industry. I have an engineering background, so I've always been passionate for math and analytics. And in my first role, I found that I could develop that passion through spreadsheets. And you were just discussing VBA, the programming language behind Microsoft Excel. And that was probably my very initial step, was learning how to create a macro to get Excel to do fancier things. And that slowly developed. And in my next role, I wanted to improve on that. And that's sort of where you and I cross paths, Justin. So, one of the projects that I was working on um, was a method for sales to track their pipeline. And
Oh
they
my
were,
gosh, that was your first project.
yes, my first true automation project end to end. Learned a lot.
Ah,
And you taught me a lot. You were a great educator, and it was really cool, the final product that we put out. Um, but I had this giant idea. I saw all the hassle that my team was going through with these spreadsheets. They were slow. There were multiple users entering these shared files. It was clunky. It wasn't live data. There was no row level security. And we needed all of that. We needed efficiency. We needed row level security specific to the individual looking at the file. We just needed something better. And yeah, so I had this grand idea to develop an automation end to end. And I had picked up some programming skills. Like at that time, I was exploring Python, and Python has a bunch of different libraries. It has stuff it's great for data science and analytics and machine learning, but there's other libraries for it too, like web design and a bunch of different things. And I had been asking around internally through our company, like, hey, does anyone else have programming experience? Does anyone know Python really well that can teach me something? And through the grapevine, I was led to Justin.
yeah.
And the second that he showed me what he did with his team's SharePoint site, my head exploded. Like, my eyes were completely open from then on. He had told me that, well, yeah, at the crux of it, SharePoint is a web page. It's a website, and you don't have to use the built-in developer tools to get it to do what you want to do. All you need is a little bit of CSS, HTML, and JavaScript to make the magic happen. And I was like, okay, slow down. I'm not up to speed. I knew that different programming languages existed and they filled different niches. Like there's Python for data science and machine learning. There is VBA for Excel and macros. There is PHP and SQL, query languages for databases. So I knew of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but I didn't understand how they all worked in tandem. Perhaps tandem isn't the right word because that means two, right? But yeah, that was that really, like, there was a spark early on, but that really ignited the fire into this world of automation. So Justin taught me how to pull everything out of SharePoint and start from a blank slate and start programming exactly what I wanted into a web page. And that was a magical experience. I learned a lot through that process. I learned that HTML was basically the architecture of the web page. CSS gave you all of your styling elements, and then JavaScript performed all the actions that you wanted the website to perform. So if you click on a button, that button will do exactly what you want it to do. And it was exactly what I needed. In that project, we were able to mimic the look and feel of a spreadsheet to keep that experience the same for the sales rep. But we were also able to provide row level security. We set up some neat Power Automate flows to feed a SharePoint list, which acted as a pseudo database, if you will. It was a source of data for us. And we did a lot of cool things through that. But yeah, that has really kicked off my automation journey. Yeah. Justin, do you have any questions?
I remember you were dealing with a couple of different databases. There was like a database that you didn't control, so you couldn't make edits to it, but you could pull live data out of it, and then it would feed into your tool. And then your tool was kind of like an extension of this database, if I remember. It was like, I kind of even asked you, well, why don't you just develop the existing database and make it better? And you were like, well, because it's not mine. We would need a budget and like committee meetings and all this. And you're like, I just want to build something to show people so that they get like the imagination of what's possible. Yeah. And then maybe they will extend it and build this into it. But
correct. So I do not own the databases. All I have is reporting level access, and those are my data sources that I have to use. I didn't need all of the information out of it, but through PowerFlow or Power Automate, you can control what you want to receive from that data source. So we did scrape off some of that data that wasn't needed and only pulled in the essential information, and that acted as our data source on the back end. And then we stitched that against the manual information that we leaned on our sales team to provide. So sales was actually entering in their information on our SharePoint page, and together with their inputs against our data sources, we were able to populate other columns of the spreadsheet, the pseudo spreadsheet that we had designed within SharePoint. Yeah, learned a lot about HTTP calls, if I'm saying that correctly, right? Yeah, that was, it's crazy what we did. Are there any other points I can better clarify, Justin?
I just remember you did a great job. Like I remember telling you like you know that this database exists. You already had access to it through Power BI or something. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
knew it existed. We knew you could get data out of it because Power BI was getting data out of it. You just needed to be able to get access, perhaps, from the database owner, so that you could get access through Power, through Power Automate.
correct.
And
Yeah,
you were able to find the right person and get the calls. Like, I didn't know how to get to this data source. I didn't have experience with this, but I thought you could do it, and you did. You figured it out.
yeah. I think all we needed in the end was the true location of that database, and what the report was created off of. So that's what I needed visibility to on the back end, and someone did provide it. I don't recall if it was IT or a different operational partner within my organization, but yeah, eventually I got the credentials I needed to be able to um, look up the true location of that database, and then we could use that, feed it into SharePoint, and then pull exactly what we needed from it.
Hmm. So let this be a lesson to everybody who's listening. If you find that you have all these different data sources and you see that you're already getting access to it through some kind of application, that shows you that it's possible to get data out of it. And you just have to find the right person to give you the right access, permissions possibly, and then figure out like the right URL that you could hit with an HTTP call and
Yes.
possibly provide your username and password, your credentials to access this stuff.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest, I think that's one of the harder obstacles of this whole process. It's just getting the right credentials and privileges, or finding who you need to go to. But after that, the world is wide open.
There is so much you can do with data.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh. I also remember that we had some struggles with the amount of data that was coming because, like, I think Power Automate had or maybe it was SharePoint. One of them had a maximum amount of data that you could get out, and you were getting data like it was like 100,000 rows of data, maybe a little bit more, and there was some kind of a limit, like 20,000 rows, it would die, or so it would just give up or time out.
Yeah, one of the data sources that I needed was just over 30,000. So I think it just exceeded the limit of a Microsoft SharePoint list, which I'm trying to recall.
Yeah, I remember that we had like some kind of a permanent list of these because there's like lists of like regions and states and cities and like who's all in them at different places. And these things change over time. So you wanted your tool to be able to incorporate these
Yes,
so
I
that a
did.
user could come and enter their data. And we knew exactly like their region and cities and different companies that
Yeah.
they were over and stuff.
So actually thinking back, it might have been, so the folders can each hold a limit of 25,000, but if you have subfolders, you can hold another 25,000. The SharePoint list might have given us 100,000. So we were within the limit of a list. The struggle on my end was actually populating that list efficiently, because once you exceed 10,000 rows, um, it becomes very slow. So after some thorough Googling, I found someone experienced with Power Automate that had designed his own flows, and he called them batch update and batch delete. So in his flows, he would actually call his data source in batches to update a SharePoint list. And calling something in batches is much more efficient than looping through line by line. So I actually used his batch update method to populate that SharePoint list. and it cut the time down from maybe an hour for that list to populate my 30,000 line items to just 10 to 20 minutes, which is still a massive improvement. And this doesn't have to run, like the flow doesn't have to run every day. It could run weekly or monthly or on the weekend, right, when no one is on the website trying to access their data. The key is to just update it in those low demand times of the day or night, so that the user's experience isn't interrupted. But yeah, I used a batch method to update the SharePoint list, and that was a learning process. That was a lot of YouTubing and watching his videos, and I think I even sent the guy an email on the side, but he was very responsive. He was also a self-employed contractor, but very knowledgeable, and he gave me a few pointers on his batch update tool that he had created that I could copy over and implement into my own PowerFlow. So that solved that issue of being able to populate a SharePoint list efficiently. I don't know how I would get around the 100,000 limit if I do need to exceed that today, but luckily that's not my problem. It's a problem for another day.
I'm imagining that you mirrored this whole list of data in SharePoint. You took it from your original data source and you put it into your SharePoint so that then your user didn't have to make a call to the original data every single time they came to your site, right?
Yes.
So we were making a copy of it so that they could get to it quicker, possibly.
Yes.
And then because you had a mirror of it, it had to be updated from time to time. So maybe that would run like once a day. So it would be updated within 24 hours.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
But then because of that, you had to add data points and you had to subtract data. Anything that was different, you had to reconcile it. So then you had possibly like thousands of changes that you had to make to SharePoint, which when you're going to make a change, that's a single call, an HTTP call to SharePoint. And every one of these little calls, it takes a little bit of resources from Microsoft. So it can be very, very slow to be making thousands of these all at once. And also SharePoint might start complaining. It says like, oh, you already went over your threshold of the resources you can use. And so like you pointed out, one of the ways that we get around this with SharePoint is that there's a batch update call. And this is a specific kind of a call you can make in SharePoint. And you can give it a whole batch of updates all in a single call. And you can make up to 1,000 of them in a single batch call.
Yes, correct. Spot on.
Yeah. So learn it and use it. Yeah. We're all learning how to use these resources, right? SharePoint is free, but it also has its limitations. And then we have to learn how to work around those limitations.
Yes, that is another part of the learning journey, and is a pretty high hurdle, if you will, to try to get over. But yeah, there are ways. There are definitely, there's always a way.
Nice. I'm interested in the spark. You said that you came from college where you were doing like engineering and math, and then you started working at this company. I'm wondering, did you have like some kind of a culture shock? Because I know I always, and I'm a little bit older than you, but like you go from university where there's like all these resources and machines and like you need anything, there's somebody who's an expert in it. And then you come to maybe like a large company and you're expecting there must be people who are going to help me with optimizing my stuff. And it's like, no, you have IT. All they do is reset your password. And you're like, what the?
Yes. I mean, great, excellent point. Yes, there was a lot of culture shock stepping into the professional industry after having come from engineering, which is very
technical.
very technical, mathematically in depth. Like you said, professors know what they're doing, very professional technical experts. There are resources everywhere. There are processes, and stepping into an organization, a corporation, you think that this behemoth, how has it operated all these years, and yet there's not a technical expert in sight. There are there are a handful of talented individuals, but they are few and far between, difficult to find, unless you're looking for them. I mean, you will find them if you look, but it's not as populated as I thought it would be. It's very sparse. And yes,
Or if you do find them, they're working with sales. They're working where the money is being generated. They're not working with your department.
Sure, possibly. Yeah, I mean, everyone is their own expert in their field, if you will, but there's not a lot of well-rounded individuals that can understand what you're asking them for, or they can't interpret what you're saying. They lack that well-roundedness, and it's a very narrow mindset. And that was the culture shock to me. It's like, why am I having such difficulty describing my vision to someone? Why don't they understand it? It's not, if you're literate at all or have some degree of reading comprehension, like, it shouldn't be that hard to get from point A to point B. But yeah, that was another huge shock, is that it's very difficult to sell people on your vision. Now, I don't work in sales, so that perhaps I'm just not suited for that. But yeah, I was definitely expecting people to be a little bit more technical. You need, in many of these jobs today, these organizations require that you have a college degree. And I'm just kind of wondering where all that knowledge went when I stepped out of university into the professional life. Yeah, that was shell shock for sure.
Yeah, I had a similar shell shock. I entered my first job out of college, I think it was 2007. So I'm a little bit older than you, but we had the internet back then. We had Windows. But my first job, they sat me down and said, "Here you go. Here's the internal system that we use to hold data. It's in DOS." And I was like, "What the heck? It's the 2000s. Why are we using DOS?"
Yep.
And they said it's all done manually. There's no way, like, you can't even copy paste into DOS. You have to manually type out everything.
Oh no.
So what I figured out was I figured out how to hack that. I made little programs that would automate everything. It's always been with me.
So how did you do that? How did you figure out that you could that you would be able to copy paste into DOS?
Well, we had Google back then. Google was much younger, but it was there. It was there. I was able to, like, scrape data from a web page and then, like, put it into a DOS program. And I was able to, of course, manipulate it all also. I was able to, like mass produce my emails. So, like, one of the things I was doing, I worked for the Boy Scouts, by the way, Boy Scouts of America.
Okay.
So you would think, like, this is the biggest nonprofit organization in the world. They must have great systems. No, they did not.
Of course not.
Barely even had a pencil. But I had to email all of my volunteers to, like, let them know your training is coming up or whatever, So I would have, like, this DOS program that was storing all of their training data. I had to get that out and then email them. So I was just doing mass emails that were automated.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. Let's see. You mentioned that it really takes a mindset to be able to imagine what's possible and to communicate it to others. There are other people in other departments, say like IT, but they speak a different language. They don't know your business process. They know IT. Most people just know their business process. I think it's very helpful when there's somebody who speaks both languages. So, like somebody like yourself, you
Yes.
learn how to speak the language of IT.
Yes. That goes a
You
long
can tell
way.
them what you need.
Yep. Don't, I would, you know, looking back, hindsight is 2020. When I entered the professional industry, I was the way that I was stepping forward into conversations was I was expecting them to understand me. And when I realized that a lot of people lacked that talent, I needed to shift my communication so that I could sound like a technical expert in their field. And I needed to learn how they communicate in order to get what I needed. So being able to shift your language and how you approach conversations, I found did get me further along with a lot of these different teams. Um, if I could speak their language, they knew that I understood their world.
Can you give
When
an
in
example?
reality, an example?
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm thinking of an example in my head, but I want to hear from you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, even just reaching out to IT and speaking specifically to things that you needed within like from them, like the modern script editor in SharePoint. I don't Many people don't know that that exists, but if you ask IT and you specifically say that that's what you need unlocked, um, that that sort of tells them that they think you know what you're talking about when in reality I have no idea what modern script editor is or how to use it yet, but once I have access to it, I
Yeah.
know that I'll learn it. That is a very uh,
Hmm.
elementary example. I'm trying to think of.
I remember this when I was cracking SharePoint because like you said, there's a normal way to use SharePoint, and like there's a way that you can like jailbreak SharePoint. So you
That's
can
a
use
great
it to
way
an
to.
incredible degree and like make amazing stuff. But for me to get to that point where it was jailbroken, it was actually like 8 steps. You have to do all of these 8 steps, and then finally you can like put in whatever code you want. Right. So I was figuring this stuff out. I would get one step and then I'd get to the next step. And then it would take me like a week to figure out, like, oh, I need this kind of access. Who in IT do I find? So I'm like making these tickets until finally I find every time I send a ticket, it goes to this one guy. And I reach out and become friends with this one guy. And I ask him, like, so what do you do in the company? And he says, oh, I have access to everything. You need anything? Stop making a ticket. Just email me. I'm like, ooh, golden contact in IT.
Right.
That is priceless. And then yeah, they assume that you know what you're doing, that you're gonna figure it out. Like, and I would start asking them questions like, how do I do this or that? And finally they told me, Justin, you're above our skill level. You need you've gotten this far. We trust that you'll get the rest of the way. Good luck.
There you go. Yeah, sometimes you might even find that you have more technical prowess than people that you're trying to get access from, which is that's um that's enlightening too.
Which is also an interesting thing, right? If we were to be talking about this kind of thing 10 or 20 years ago, this would not be the case. You would have to go to IT, they have to scope it out, make a budget, they have to get permissions and like spin up databases. Now we're at a point where Microsoft has given us the tools that we can do all of this ourselves.
Yeah,
It's
and that's a beautiful thing.
I think IT, in a way, is very grateful. Like they don't have to deal with all this stuff anymore. They just say, look, we gave you the tools. We put the boundaries around what you can do. Like, yeah, you can only access data that you have access to,
Yeah, correct.
But
Yeah,
as long
Microsoft
as you're using the tools, use
yeah.
them.
Yeah, Microsoft has really empowered its customers. They understand that there's a lot of developers out there, creatives, and
And
they
you have to turn the secretary into a developer, really. Like there are not enough IT people to
no.
fill the demand.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, I mean, if this is a passion that people have, it it's a great thing to pursue. You learn a lot in the journey. You learn how to think logically. You sort of come to understand the process better, even, and what exactly it needs to do. And yeah, Microsoft has really enabled that landscape, and they do, build surface level developer tools, but there are ways to get very custom and creative with what you need to do. It's just a matter of finding that person in your organization that can give you the access, um, to those tools.
I remember, and maybe this is a fuzzy memory, maybe it didn't actually happen, but I remember that there was some person that I was showing that I had built this amazing tool, and they expressed concern. They said,
Oh,
Justin, did you get permission to build this? I was like, I didn't know I needed permission. They're like, no, no, no. You have to run this past IT and do a security check and have them say it's okay. So I went to the guy that did the security check. He asked me like, is it encrypted? And I was like, it better be. It's in Microsoft 365. It's and then he's like, is it encrypted at rest? I don't know. It's SharePoint. You tell me. And finally, the guy is like, "There's no point. You're using the tools that we gave you. You don't need us." And the justification he gave me was beautiful. He said, He said, remember how you started building like formulas and macros in Excel? I was like, yeah. And he was like, did you have to ask IT for permission to build those macros or those formulas? No, I didn't. Okay. Well, he said, we provide you the tool and then you use it. If you can't figure it out, we don't support you anyway. If something breaks, it's not on IT. It's up to you.
yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. That's a great analogy. Yeah, I mean, the tools, they just have to provide us the tools, but there there shouldn't be anything needed beyond that.
They take
No,
care of the boundaries, all the
yeah,
security and the access.
exactly.
They take care of it.
Yeah, that's at
You can't
the
go out of it
front
anyway.
end of any tool that they want to integrate into the organization. Like that, there has to be privacy standards in place for all of that to happen. Make sure that there's no confidential sharing of information between those two separate systems, between two separate organizations, actually. Uh, yeah, they need to take care of all that up at the front end. But once your organization has a tool, you shouldn't need any further permission in order to access aspects of those tools or worry about privacy information or sharing confidential data. Um, yeah, you shouldn't have to worry about any of that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think it's really changed our relationship with IT. It has freed up IT to do what they need to do,
Yes.
protecting us and being able to provide us with tools. But then the responsibility for development, it's more on the people who actually know what need to be developed.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's great to have that empowered individuality and not having to rely on another team to design your vision. Like you have full freedom to pursue what you want to make.
I like how you're talking about vision. It sounds to me like imagination is one of the most important things you can have in this space.
Yeah, I think
Imagination is more important than knowledge.
yeah, in a way, because you can always learn the skills if you practice and try hard enough.
Mhm.
Creativity might be one of the harder things to do. If you want a cool looking tool or an efficient tool or anything like that, right? That takes creative skill.
Mhm.
But
So what about going the next step to AI?
sure.
Like we've democratized being able to create our own tools.
Yeah,
We've gone to low code, no code, and then we're going forward to what's called vibe coding. You just tell the AI what you want, but you have to know what you want to be able to tell it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all in the scripting and what you feed the AI. You can, but you can also ask the AI for some ideas if you're stuck, and that might help you in your creative journey. And you can take aspects from that. I mean, I use AI for that as well. I ask it, how can I do this better, or is how can I get creative? Give me some ideas, and that just helps fuel the fire. Um, I
I,
think
I,
AI is great. Those uh, large language learning machines. I mean, they're they don't have to be scary or anything. They are helpful tools. It's just another tool in the toolbox.
Mhm.
It's like a book. You know, you used to have to check out a book at the library, and then that evolved into, okay, well, now I can find this book online for free. I don't need to go to the library. And now you have this AI that has immediate access to the entire internet and um, inputs from users all around the world. So you're getting the best of the best information up front. You don't have to find that book on the shelf. You don't have to find that book on a web page. AI is there right in front of us, and it can be completely tailored to your needs depending on how you prompt the AI. I think it's an incredibly powerful tool, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's allowed me to be more efficient in my job.
Mhm. When I'm using AI to do my coding, I still like to do the basic coding myself. I'll do like the core,
Sure.
but then I put it through and I ask it, how would you make this better? And
Yes.
it
Yeah.
optimizes the code.
All the time.
And then I go through one feature at a time. I'm like, okay, add the login mechanism, and it'll do it. It'll add the database or whatever. I tell it exactly what I need. But then when it gives me that 100 or 200 lines of code, I add it in and then I check it to see if it actually works. So I
Yeah.
usually go one feature at a time and I check each one to make sure it works. But at the same time, the code that it's giving me, I'm able to read it. I know exactly what it's doing. And so if like I had this one experience, everything worked until the very last line. It didn't go all the way. So I read through and I saw like, oh, it missed the very last line of code that I needed. That's it. So I said to it, "Are you sure you didn't miss the last line?" And it goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Here you go."
Yep.
So it
Yep.
just reminds me you need to be able to like check and know the value of what it's giving you.
Yes, you do. You still have to be able to interpret what it's providing
Mhm.
and recognize those errors that it might overlook, because it does miss things. It is not infallible, if you will. It is prone to failure. And I'm not sure what that's a result of. Uh, Processing power, I because it has a memory too.
Mhm.
And once it stores so much memory, it also becomes inefficient. Your brain is still more powerful than the AI. Um, we're not there yet.
Also, you talked about how this is a mindset. I remember you just a couple minutes ago. You were saying something like the automation. It's kind of a reflection of the work, but also you have to like sometimes the work doesn't have patterns yet. You have to create the pattern, and then the automation really clearly defines exactly what the work does. So I'm hearing that instead of just automating your chaos, maybe we need to think in terms of patterns first. Put the work in terms of patterns that can be followed and recreated, and then you bring in AI and automation, and you
Yeah,
automate that.
yeah, I that's where I like to start from is the pattern that I see.
Hmm.
Because if people are not, how do I say this?
Inclined.
Yeah, they're not inclined to change. It's very hesitant.
uh,
So
and a lot of organizations, everybody is just doing whatever because they've never been told how to do it. So
yes,
everybody
yeah,
has their own individual way of doing absolutely everything, and it's
it,
chaos.
it takes an out of the box thinker to get them out of that routine. Um, but yeah, if you can recognize a pattern and mimic aspects of it, I think you're going to get a lot more buy-in from your users that want that, you've developed the tool for. You might have this idea for automation, but if it's entirely different from what the users are used to seeing, there won't be buy-in. You have to show them that you understand their needs first before you go and develop your own thing. Even if your idea might be better or make more sense to you, you have to keep the audience in mind. So if you can see the patterns, if you can understand their needs and reflect that in a way within your tool, hopefully you see more buy-in. But yeah, um, yeah, people are not inclined to change. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So even beyond technology and beyond processes, you have to manage the people and you have to
Yes,
help bring them along with the change.
always that's always going to be there. I don't think AI is ever going to take away that job.
Hmm.
People management
I,
is the toughest thing.
I read a statistic that like 15% of people are absolutely against change all the time. It's like your grandma who
Very stuck.
refuses to get a cell phone
Yeah.
because the fax machine is just fine.
Yep. Yep.
And so it's very difficult to get 100% of people to make a change with anything. So I'm
Exactly.
always wondering, like when we build a new system and we need change, maybe we shouldn't make success be defined as 100% adoption. Maybe we should like allow in a way for some people not to make the change. Like if we went to email, or let's say we made a government website and you absolutely had to send an email. What about the old person who doesn't have a computer? Like, why not let them send in a letter by the mail?
Yeah.
Is it
I
going
mean,
to kill anybody? No.
exactly. I mean,
Meet the
allowing
people where
people
they
to
are.
have their freedom, right, and that option or choice, uh, I
Yeah.
think that's completely okay. Like there doesn't have to be 100% adoption. And
Just deal with it in your automation.
yeah,
Maybe you have an automation that like opens the letter, scans it in, and like converts it to digital letter. So it's exactly like an email anyway.
sure, sure. That
And then going
that's the
back
way
the
to
other
run.
way, instead of emailing them, it gets printed and sent through the mail to their house.
Yeah, yeah. You got
It
to keep
changes
both lanes
nothing. It just
open.
allows people to interface with your tool in the way they are comfortable with.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Give them the option. Don't make it strict. Like this is my way or the highway. It should
But
never
but
be.
but if we defined success as 100%, everybody's going to change everything. You have that one person that says no. Guess what? Your whole project just failed.
Yeah. So
So yeah, redefine it.
exactly. Yeah,
Take them into account. Define success how you need to. At the end of the day, it's a story that we're telling to people, right?
yeah,
And people want to be a part of a story that is successful because, like, let's say you make things more efficient. the story in the people's minds is not like, oh, we just increased efficiency. No, the story that you tell them is we are helping people. We are helping, like you're in the medical industry. We're helping people have better access to health.
Yes. Yeah. That it brings up a memory. We just had a call recently with one of the leaders in our organization, and they talked about their career journey, and there was a lot of climbing the ladder, but then there was a dip in his career, and that dip happened when he said that he had approached the people that he was managing and tried telling them like how they're going to do something, and what he realized is that he didn't get anyone's input, and that their input mattered more. If you don't give people that input, if you don't give people that sense of like they're a part
Ownership.
of something, yeah, the ownership, all of that, like they need to be a part of that in order for you to go farther. So yeah, input is very valuable.
It,
Seek input, find the pattern. I would put it this way: find the pattern, identify it, seek input, and then develop those aspects into the tool that you want to create. And I think you'll go far. And then, of course, give people the option to, use the old way, use the old method, use the tried and true if you're adverse to change. You had mentioned that the statistic of people, 15% are completely against any change whatsoever. An extension of that statistic is, I'd say, 80 to 90% of, I mean, I don't know if this is true, but just personal feeling, 80-20 rule, right? 80% of people are probably against change in some way. They might, maybe even like they're inclined to change, but
well,
always
they
something
might
that's,
also be doubtful.
yes, doubtful. Yeah.
They know they might be like, well, I don't know if this change is going to be good or bad.
Yes,
And
exactly.
any kind of a change, it messes with your brain at first. It's confusing. It's like Microsoft just changed the whole interface of Word. Now I can't find anything. Like, what was the point of this? You know,
Yeah. I mean,
there's always a learning curve, and then you come through that, and hopefully it's better after you get out of
exactly.
that valley.
Yes. Yes. There are doubters. I
Hmm.
think you had mentioned, you know, an old person hanging on to, a flip phone. Even I am an example of someone that's been against change in some way. I had an iPhone 6S for over 10 years, and I just upgraded my phone. So I think we're all in a little way adverse to change in some way. Even if we might favor it, there's always something that we don't like or don't want to do for whatever reason. They're
The
hard to,
human brain likes shortcuts.
yeah,
We like habits because then you don't have to think about it. You just
yeah,
go unconsciously and you just do things the way you've always done them.
yes,
It's
and it's
easier.
very tough to kick a habit. Yeah.
Mm. I saw a really nice video from Simon Sinek. He talks about like change management and stuff in a very engaging way. He's he says that only 1% of the population is able to see the future and bring that future into our present by inventing the future. You know, you dream up the change that you want to exist and you create that change. And then he said there's another 3% of people that are very, very um, they're very perceptive to adopting change. Like they don't care if it's going to be a bad change or a good change. They're your guinea pigs. They want to try it out no matter what, right? So he compared it to like Star Wars. Like there's only one director of a Star Wars movie that can create it, and then you have a loyal fan base. It's like the 3% that will stay out in in camping in tents just to get the very first ticket. They'll camp out for like 24 hours. They're diehard people. They don't even know if the movie's good or it's going to flop, right? But they
Yeah.
will try it. And
Yeah.
then the next 10% of people, they're not going to be camping out, but they're going to listen. They're going to see the reviews. Like, what was it like the very opening weekend? Because
Yeah.
then I'll go the next weekend if I hear
They're a
some
bit
good
more
reviews.
skeptical.
And then there's a 50% of the population who doesn't go the opening weekend. They don't go the next weekend, but maybe over the next couple of months, they're like, maybe I'll go to a movie. I heard that, 15% of people like this. So it's got to be a good bet. Can't go wrong with those numbers, right?
Right.
And then that's when it's like a domino effect. So he said, do not focus on the 80% of people. Focus on that 3%. Focus on your cheerleaders. Those
Yeah.
are the ones that you want to get feedback from because they're motivated to tell you what they want. They want the change.
Yes, that's a great way to
He
put that.
he
Yeah.
said that final 15%, maybe they'll never go to Star Wars. Maybe they like some other movie. But he said it's not your job to make them go to Star Wars. Actually, they might get social pressure from everybody else. Everybody else says, "Hey, did you see that cool Star Wars movie?" And the person's like, "No, I didn't." Why not? You loser. And so you see, you can put you can have people do social pressure for you.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Why are you still using that fax machine?
Cheerleaders.
That's a dinosaur. It's so much easier on this new iPhone. Look at this.
Yep.
Oh,
Exactly. Yeah. The social pressure can be, a friend, not an enemy,
mhm.
depending on what agenda you have, right?
And you can use those social people. Seek them out. You'll probably notice who these people are, the early adopters. Get them on your side. Get feedback from them. Have them be your early pilot testers, because they're not going to be the ones that use it. It fails, and then they go around telling everybody, "Oh, Ryan's project failed again. Look at this." No, they're not going to be those kind of people. You need to find your cheerleaders.
Yes. 100%.
They'll do a lot of work for you, but it's important. The social part is just as important as the technology.
Yes, it is very much so. They go hand in hand.
Ah.
Well, Justin, do you have any other questions for me?
I was thinking, what are you thinking about for the future?
Oh, for the future. In what
And
way?
maybe in very broad terms, or I don't know. You might say like, oh, I'm looking to use AI in a better way, or to get ready for AI, or I don't know.
Sure.
How do you get ready for the future?
Excellent question. You would think that I have thought about this at length, at
You're
nauseum.
looking for another Justin.
I mean, sure, yes. I am thinking about AI in the future. Machine learning, there are talks and discussions going on in the organization that we all want to move to AI and how are we going to use it? And it's
hard.
Yeah, because
I find that you have to have a use case for it. Like for me, AI is often pushed as like a hammer, and then you go around looking for nails. It's like, that's not how work is done. We need to identify the problem, and then you scope out what a solution would look like, and then you see, because you said this earlier, AI is just another tool, one of many. So
yeah,
you use it when it makes sense, and you don't use it when it doesn't. So you don't just use it all the time.
absolutely. Yeah. And I am afraid that they're going to go around looking for nails rather than maybe let's put it this way. AI is a screwdriver and they're looking for nails to hammer in. You don't hammer in a nail with the screwdriver. You screw in a screw with the screwdriver. And I am afraid that they that they just sort of want to blanket everything with AI. They haven't told us their ideas or strategies for it or where they want to implement it. And then it's okay. Are
Or
they
the guardrails too. You need
say that again?
guardrails. You need guardrails and
Sure.
security.
Yeah.
Like,
And
what
they are.
happens when we give access to absolutely everything to this thing, and then
Yep.
it gets hacked?
There's been discussions of that too. I know for a fact that they're talking about that. Um, it's also, I mean, yeah, to your point, who are they going to give access to? And then is that person with access, are they going to understand how you believe AI should be used or developed for your situation? Or
Yeah.
are they going to be the best users of the tool if you need it? I mean, I don't know. I guess that's what I'm worried about. Um, it
Mm.
would help to have more analytical people within these niche roles that can be power users of the tool. Um, Otherwise, it might become, that old IT situation where you needed to submit a ticket for everything and lean on them to build what you wanted rather than being the creative, independent user yourself. Um, yeah, sort of afraid of history repeating itself, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I, I I wish we didn't have this. I wish we had people who were more like thoughtful and educated on these issues, where they could use the right tool in the appropriate way,
Yes,
instead of just thinking like what is the problem you're trying to solve? We don't know. Okay, so if you don't know the problem, how do you know what you're solving for? And once you bring in the tool, how do you know that the tool solved it?
exactly.
You have no way to evaluate this.
Yes, and
But this is what people want.
yep, and that is exactly what I'm afraid of. That
Oh.
yeah, that's my only hesitation. But other than that, I think future is very promising for AI. I think it will make things more efficient for a lot of people. I'm not a I don't think people should be afraid of losing jobs to a robot. Uh, the robot is not infallible, and human resources will still be needed very much so in the future. um, yeah, so I'm hopeful for this developing landscape, but I'm also cautious and hesitant. It sort of goes back to that change. I'm open to change, but I'm a little bit more skeptical, and I question some things or the patterns that I see.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not the first guest that I've had who has said this.
Oh,
I,
well,
I had a guest a
okay.
couple weeks ago. She said she's skeptically optimistic.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to put it. Yeah. Well, thank you, Justin. This has
Well,
been
thank you.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I wish you success in your future projects.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually working on one right now. Um, I hope to develop a machine learning tool. I want to be able to measure success, like put actual data behind what defines success uh, for the object that I'm measuring. So I work I
I
work with
was thinking
sales.
for life. That's
Uh,
beautiful.
right? No, that'd be cool. No, just professionally speaking, uh, I work with sales alongside sales, help manage their territory. So
Mhm.
I don't think sales might have their own definition of success. Oh, it means I hit quota this year. On to the next one. Like that's success to them. Um,
But
but
you have
what
like a customer chain you have to look at.
right? Yeah, what okay, so what truly makes your territory successful? Is it you as a person? Is it some magic combination of customers or products that you're selling?
People having healthy outcomes.
Yeah. Like
I love it.
what is true success? And then how can we design other territories to look like yours or set them up for success in the future?
Oh,
We
nice. I like this.
Yeah,
So once you identify what success is, and you can point to one that is successful, then you
exactly.
can ask them, "How did you do that?" And let's replicate it to everybody else.
Exactly. And going back to that shell shock, it's crazy to me that we don't have those answers yet. We have assumptions.
So it
We
could even go beyond. Like it could be just the fact that your salesperson is friendly and
Yeah,
has friendships with the people in the community.
yes, I 1,000%. And I think more often than
I
not,
like it.
that's the answer. It's just this person has been here 5+ years. They have established business and trust with their customers. They've grown it that they can just
They're not
sit
just going to
in
be
a
gone
way and
tomorrow.
succeed. Yeah. Like we can trust them that they're going to get the job done. And I mean,
And we
but
take care of the people that
yeah,
we make the sales to.
sure, sure.
If
And
there's
but
a complaint or
you have
something.
new people joining that you don't know how they operate yet. So are you setting up their territory for success? Does it have the right ingredients to be successful? If it does, then we should expect them to be successful because we've set them up that way. But sometimes they're not set up that way at all. Some some parts of the nation
Wow.
suffer a bit more in comparison to other parts, and it's like, why is that so? I noticed this pattern in this in this role that I have, um and in the past role that I was in. I have even seen patterns in two separate parts of the business where it's like, why does it seem that we underperform it in these specific parts of the country? Because this isn't just true for my business, it was true for the other business that I was in. Like, why is this area of the nation so hard
Mm,
to sell in? Why is there struggle? Why is there so much turnover? Um,
it,
so
it
even
could
just
go
telling you
deeper.
that, yeah, we got to go
You,
deeper, and
you
it's
could
crazy.
discover like systemic issues.
Yeah, and there's so much data to analyze. It's not just customer service and customer engagement and the performance of your customers or the satisfaction or service that you're providing them as an individual. It's contract management. It's could be external factors like weather or um, you know
Or
density of customers
access to public transportation.
yeah, exactly. Yep, that's a big one. Like
Or
there's so many factors that can influence.
or the health problems that they're having. Like one area, it might be elderly people
Yes,
that
population.
need new kinds of things. But then another part, it might be that there's a
Uh-huh.
whole bunch of unemployed young people who have no hope in the future and they're all drug addicts.
Yes, exactly.
So
That
their health needs are
demographic.
completely different.
Yes. Yeah. It's so many different data points to evaluate and look at and see how they correlate to
So how do
success.
we contribute to a healthy community?
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Um, that's what I'm hoping to answer. It will be a multi-year long project, that's for sure. Um, it's even hard just whiteboarding everything and getting started, but
That's
the
big.
the spark is there, so eventually it'll grow. But yeah, I have a lot more to look forward to in personal life. I'm getting married in October this year, so very excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Uh, so yeah, definitely looks to be a promising year and promising future. So
Beautiful.
yeah, thank you, Justin.
All right. Well, thank you for spending this time with me. I've really
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
of course. Yeah, I'm happy to come back. If you ever want to have me back, this has been fun.
All right. I'm gonna close out the show. If you want to stay on and we can chat a little bit more, I don't know if you want to or if you have time, but I'm gonna end it now, and I'll say thank you to my guest, Ryan. It's been a pleasure. And to everyone listening, I hope you've enjoyed this and gotten benefit from this as well, and been inspired that you can also go down this journey and just receive a lot of joy from this. I hope that you've heard in Ryan's voice that this is a very fulfilling thing to do. It's very intellectual, and you're making an impact on the lives of people around you. And so with that, I wish everyone happy automating.